My name is Emily, and I live in New York City. The city never really sleeps. Even at night, the streets are full of lights, cars, and people rushing somewhere. When I first moved here, I thought this city would change my life. I believed it would bring me love, excitement, and freedom. Instead, it brought me a marriage I never truly wanted. I am 26 years old, and I have been married for 2 years. From the outside, my life looks perfect. My husband, Daniel, works at a finance company in Manhattan. We live in a clean apartment on the 12th floor, with a small balcony that looks over the busy street. Every morning, I make coffee while the sound of taxis and horns rises from below. People say I am lucky. They say, "You live in New York. You have a good husband. What more could you want?" I always smile when they say that. But inside, my heart feels quiet and empty. I do not love my husband. Daniel is not a bad man. He is polite, responsible, and calm. He never forgets to pay the bills. He never comes home late without telling me. He always asks if I need anything from the store. He even makes breakfast for me on Sundays. But love is not there. Not in my chest. Not in my voice when I say his name. Not in my eyes when I look at him. Sometimes, I stand by the window at night and watch the lights of the city. I see couples walking together on the street, laughing, holding hands, sharing umbrellas in the rain. And I wonder why I never feel that way. My story did not begin in New York. It began in a small town in Ohio, where everyone knew everyone. Life was slow there. Quiet. Safe. Maybe too safe. I met Daniel through my parents. They knew his family from church. He had just moved to New York for work, and they thought he would be a perfect match for me. He is kind, my mother said. He is stable, my father added. He can give you a good life. I was 24 then. I had just finished college. I did not know what I wanted from life. The idea of moving to New York sounded exciting. Bright lights. Tall buildings. A new beginning. So when Daniel asked me to marry him, I said yes. Not because I loved him, but because I thought love would come later. The wedding was small and simple. White flowers, soft music, and smiling faces. Daniel looked at me with warm, hopeful eyes. When he held my hand, his fingers were gentle. "You look beautiful," he whispered. I thanked him. But my heart stayed quiet. After the wedding, we moved to New York together. The first night in our new apartment, I stood by the window and looked down at the glowing streets. "This is our home now," Daniel said, placing his hand softly on my shoulder. I nodded. "It's nice." He smiled, but I could see something in his eyes. Maybe he already felt the distance between us. Maybe he noticed how my voice sounded more polite than loving. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Our life became a routine. Daniel woke up early, dressed in his neat suits, and left for work. I stayed home most days, trying to find small things to do. Sometimes I walked around the neighborhood. Sometimes I sat in cafes, watching strangers pass by. Every evening, he came home with a tired smile. "How was your day?" he would ask. "Fine," I always replied. Then we ate dinner, watched a little TV, and went to bed. He was always kind. Always patient. But there was a quiet war between us that neither of us talked about. One night, while we were sitting on the couch, he reached for my hand. His touch was warm and careful. "Emily," he said softly, "are you happy here?" The question made my chest feel tight. "Yes," I answered quickly. "Of course." He looked at me for a moment, as if he wanted to say more. But then he just nodded and turned his eyes back to the TV. That was the first time I felt the weight of my lie. Because the truth was simple. I was not unhappy with him. But I was not in love with him either. And sometimes, that felt even worse. Every night, before sleeping, I would turn my face toward the wall. I listened to the distant noise of the city, and wondered how long I could live like this. One cold afternoon in November, everything began to change. I was walking down a quiet street near a small bookstore. The air was sharp, and my hands were cold. I stepped inside the store just to warm up. It was small and cozy, with wooden shelves and the soft smell of paper. Behind the counter stood a man about my age. He had messy brown hair and gentle eyes. "Cold outside, huh?" he said with a small smile. I nodded. "Very. You can stay as long as you like. No pressure to buy anything," he added. I smiled back. "Thank you." I walked slowly between the shelves, looking at the books. I wasn't really reading the titles. I was just enjoying the quiet. It felt different from my apartment. Warmer. Softer. "Do you like stories?" the man asked from behind the counter. "Yes," I said. "But I haven't read much lately." He picked up a thin book and held it out to me. "This one is simple and beautiful. Easy to read. Full of feeling." I took the book. Our fingers touched for a second. My heart moved in a way it hadn't in a long time. "I'm Ryan," he said. "Emily," I replied. That day, I bought the book even though I barely looked at the price. When I left the store, the cold air hit my face again. But something inside me felt warm. I told myself it was nothing. Just a small moment with a stranger. But the next week, I went back to the bookstore. And the week after that. Soon, visiting the shop became part of my routine. Ryan always greeted me with the same soft smile. "Back again," he would say. Just looking around, I would answer. We talked about books at first. Then about movies. Then about the city. He told me he moved to New York to follow his dream of writing. I told him I moved here after marriage. He never asked too many questions. He just listened. One evening, as I was about to leave, he said quietly, "You don't look very happy." His words surprised me. "Why would you say that?" I asked. He shrugged. "Your smile looks a little tired." I didn't know what to say. No one had ever noticed that before. "I'm fine," I whispered. But deep inside, I knew he was right. That night, when Daniel came home, he handed me a small bag. "Your favorite cookies," he said. I looked at him. At his tired eyes and gentle smile. Guilt filled my chest. "Thank you," I said softly. He leaned forward and kissed my forehead. It was a sweet, careful kiss. But my heart stayed quiet. Later that night, as I lay in bed, I realized something that scared me. For the first time in 2 years, my heart had moved. But it had not moved for my husband.